In today's busy rhythm of life, it's easy to slip into a familiar state. The feeling that what we have is not enough. We want a little more money, a little more luck, a little more love. And the more we want, the more restless the heart becomes, the more we sense a quiet lack within. Bodhidharma once taught that as long as the mind keeps chasing, suffering will keep following. When the mind learns to stop, peace naturally appears. There are moments, in the middle of all our worries, when we ask why we've tried so hard, and yet life still isn't what we hoped for. But sometimes the cause isn't the circumstance. It's the dissatisfaction living inside us. Much of our sadness, pressure, and disappointment comes from comparing ourselves to others and craving what is beyond our present capacity. We forget that happiness is not only in a future destination, but in recognizing the value of what is already here. Contentment does not mean giving up, surrendering, or abandoning dreams. It means no longer treating the present as not enough. It is a kind of awakened wisdom. When we look inward, we see that many things we chase are only the mind's endless preoccupations. So in this quiet moment, let us begin a small journey back to ease, learning to be at peace with the life we have, so we no longer run without direction, so the mind can be light as clouds and still as a calm lake. And we may realize that simply breathing is already one of life's greatest gifts. If you're reading this now, pause for a few seconds. Take a gentle breath and feel your own presence in this very moment. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for today? For each of us carries a lesson that seems simple, yet often takes half a lifetime to understand: the lesson of contentment. When we are young, we believe happiness will arrive only after we gain more wealth, higher status, fuller love. But the more we live, the more we pass through gain and loss. The more we discover that happiness isn't in what we obtain, it's in the spirit with which we receive life. Bodhidharma once emphasized, when the pond is still, the scenery becomes peaceful. When the heart feels enough, life is enough. The line sounds simple, yet it carries a deep understanding of suffering. People do not suffer because they lack things, but because the mind keeps believing it lacks. People are not anxious because life is full of storms, but because the heart is not spacious enough to hold life's changes. When we don't know contentment, no amount will ever feel sufficient. We have a car and want a better one, a house and dream of a bigger one. We are loved, yet we still want that love to arrive in the exact way we expect. So the inner world keeps chasing, thinking without rest, until the mind grows tired. The person who knows contentment doesn't dream less. They simply see more clearly what truly matters. Like a calm lake, water still flows and winds still blow. Yet the surface remains steady because the roots are deep and the center is firm. They don't view life through what is missing, but through what is already here. And that sense of enough makes them light, unburdened, and free. In modern life, many confuse contentment with resignation. They fear that if they feel enough, they will stop striving. But contentment is the choice of the strong. Resignation is the surrender of the weak. The contented person knows the limits of the present and still moves forward, without strain, without comparison, without forcing life to deliver results on demand. They do their best, yet they don't demand immediate rewards. They give their effort, yet they don't resent the timing of fate. They understand that things unfold with conditions, with seasons, with cause and effect. There is an old story. A disciple asked Bodhidharma, "Why do I feel uneasy even though I already have so much?" He smiled and said, "Because you keep looking at what you don't have. Then what should I do to be at peace? Turn back and look at what you do have, simple yet piercing." We learn quickly how to earn, how to speak, how to work, but we can spend a lifetime learning how to live quietly with ourselves. When we know contentment, we stop measuring life by winning and losing. We stop letting others or social media define our worth. We remember that no one is perfect and no life is complete by every standard. Each person carries their own trials, their own sorrow, their own karma. Contentment helps us stop comparing and return to caring for our own life. And something subtle begins to happen. We find joy in small things. A warm meal, a day without illness, an afternoon listening to the wind. When desire is too loud, we never recognize the value of these gifts. But when the heart ripens, we see they are the greatest blessings. Contentment also softens anger. When we expect less, we are less easily disappointed. When we stop insisting that life obey our will, we are less easily upset. We come back to the present, no longer running to the past or rushing into the future. That return is one of the rarest treasures of being human. Deep within us lives an energy that always wants more. It isn't entirely wrong. Sometimes it is what helps us grow, endure, and rise. But when that wanting exceeds its rightful boundary, it becomes greed, and greed pulls us away from the peace that was never truly missing. Bodhidharma once said, "Greed is an invisible net that binds the mind. The more you struggle, the deeper you are caught." It sounds like an ancient warning, yet it speaks perfectly to modern life. We may no longer live in forests or caves, but we are surrounded by countless subtle nets. A new car, a beautiful house, a job title, praise, the approval of others. Some people earn more and more, yet still feel it's not enough. Always lacking, always needing just a little more to feel secure. Strangely, that little more has no finish line. The more we want, the more exhausted the mind becomes. The more we chase, the more the heart turns restless. In the end, it isn't wealth that causes suffering, but desire clinging to wealth. Greed also appears in love. We aren't satisfied with what our partner offers. We demand love in the exact form we prefer, attention in the exact measure we expect. The more we insist, the more affection fades, because true care is born from willingness, not pressure. In friendships and society, we crave recognition, respect, compliments. But the more we seek validation outside, the more we lose touch with fullness within. The harsh truth is this: when we need others to confirm our worth, we have already forgotten our own inherent value. Greed hides as expectations toward life itself. We expect everything to go smoothly, plans to unfold exactly, people to behave as we wish. When reality turns a different way, we suffer, not because life is wrong, but because we are attached to an ideal. Many spend a lifetime running after fame and profit, only to realize they traded away what was most precious: health, time, youth, inner peace. Some chase an opportunity and lose integrity, chase money and wound those they love, chase praise and lose themselves. Bodhidharma taught that suffering grows from 3 roots: craving what we cannot get, clutching what cannot last, and grieving what we refuse to let go. All 3 begin with grasping. A wise person is not someone without desire, but someone who understands its limits. Wanting a better life is natural, yet we must not let wanting govern the mind. They work hard without losing ethics, pursue goals without stepping on others, love deeply without possession, hope without collapsing when the road changes. Most of all, they know when to stop, when the heart starts to tighten, when pressure rises, when desire begins pulling them away from ease. In stopping, we look again and see how much is already worthy of gratitude: a home to return to, people we love, health that still carries us, work to do, mornings where we can open our eyes and step into sunlight. Some are rich yet inwardly poor. Others own little yet remain calm as an evening breeze. The difference is contentment. When we understand the danger of greed, we begin returning to the abundance of the present, not by abandoning dreams, but by refusing to chase them with anxiety. It isn't that we stop wishing, it's that we stop wishing in unrest. True peace does not come from having more, but from needing less. And here is life's quiet paradox. We search for happiness in distant places, grand goals, and things not yet here, while overlooking what is already nourishing the soul. Happiness is not only in what we might reach tomorrow, but in how we receive and recognize life today. When the mind keeps running, we cannot see it. When comparison takes over, we cannot feel it. When craving is loud, we miss the simple gifts already in our hands. Bodhidharma taught, when the mind cannot see, happiness does not appear. When the mind returns, peace is already enough. It is a gentle reminder that happiness is not out there, but hidden in what is most familiar. Many people wake up healthy each morning and never recognize it as a blessing. They eat warm food and call it ordinary. They still have family to return to and forget the value of that presence until one day it's gone. Only after loss do we understand what mattered. Only after absence do we wish we had treasured it more. True happiness is not something we chase. It is something we finally notice. Think about it. Each day we wake, we are given another beginning. We still have hands to work, feet to walk, eyes to meet the sky, and a heart capable of love. Isn't that happiness? Yet because it is familiar, we overlook it. Because it is easy to have, we treat it lightly. With the mind always leaning into the future, we abandon the joy of the present. Many people believe, when I achieve this, I'll be happy. When I get that, I'll be at peace. But once they arrive, the joy lasts briefly, and the next desire appears. Happiness becomes a stream always running ahead, never coming to rest inside us. Some say they'll be happy with more money, then raise the target again. Some believe love will complete them, then demand perfection from the person they found. Others chase success, only to discover that the more they achieve, the more empty they feel. In the end, happiness is not decided by circumstances, but by the way we see them. One person lives in a small room, eats simply, and feels gratitude for each moment, so they are happy. Another lives in a beautiful house, steps into a luxury car, yet carries a hollow heart. The difference is not where we stand, but the inner posture of the one who stands there. To recognize the happiness you already have, the first practice is to stop. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop viewing life through the lens of lack. Stop dismissing the quiet, ordinary gifts. When you pause, you may see that a meal with loved ones is happiness. A peaceful afternoon without conflict is happiness. A day without illness is happiness. A simple message of care is happiness. Sometimes happiness is nothing more than living lightly for one day. No old burdens, no borrowed worries, no clinging to small things, no wanting too much. Just one deep breath, and that is enough. Bodhidharma pointed to a plain truth. Happiness does not come from outside, and suffering does not come from outside. The mind creates and dissolves its own world. So if you want happiness, begin by looking at what you already have. Don't let life teach you through loss before you learn gratitude. Don't wait for chaos to arrive before you see how precious peace is. Don't wait for someone to leave before you realize their presence was a blessing. A simple, transforming practice. Each night before sleep, or each morning upon waking, name 3 things you feel grateful for, even if they are small. A greeting, a cup of water, a quiet moment, a flower on the roadside. When gratitude awakens, happiness blooms on its own. Happiness never truly left you. You were simply running too fast to notice it walking beside you. Many people misunderstand contentment as giving up, accepting fate, or stopping effort. They fear that if they become content, they will fall behind. But that misunderstanding makes them tense, competing, calculating, until the mind grows exhausted. The truth is, contentment is not retreat. Contentment is a high form of wakefulness, a calm clarity that allows you to keep moving forward without losing your peace. Bodhidharma taught that the one who knows enough is the one who has conquered the self, conquered the hunger for more, the grip of greed, the habit of comparison, the sting of envy. Such a person is not weak. That is inner strength, the wisdom to look at life with clearer, deeper eyes. Someone who retreats from helplessness often carries bitterness, but someone who is content with the present carries lightness. The difference is not in circumstances, but in the posture of the heart. Letting go of craving is not losing, it is regaining freedom. When desire is excessive, we live under pressure, restless and chasing things that may never belong to us. Days pass without peace because the mind cannot stand firmly where it is. Contentment does not mean we stop trying. It means we stop demanding that life unfold exactly as we wish. We still make effort, still move forward, but we are no longer driven by grasping, no longer forced to compete for the sake of proving ourselves. The contented person continues to grow, yet refuses to trade away inner peace for what is not worth it. With a steady mind and a quiet life, they often go farther than those who only know struggle and rivalry. A major source of dissatisfaction is the belief that everything must arrive immediately, on time, on script, perfectly complete. When life refuses, we call it failure. Bodhidharma pointed instead to timing and conditions. When causes are ripe, things come. When they are not, forcing only exhausts the heart. The awakened person does not pressure life, pressure others, or pressure the self. They understand that some things are not now, but when the time is right. Some paths require detours. Some people must leave for new connections to appear. To understand impermanence is to see contentment as moving with life's natural flow, not surrendering in defeat. Contentment quiets the mind, and a quiet mind brings clear seeing. When the heart is agitated, everything looks like a problem. When the mind is chaotic, everything feels like lack. When we are anxious, the world becomes heavy. But when we learn to be content, the mind settles, and we begin to notice light we previously missed. From that stillness, we know what to do, what to keep, what to release. The contented person places the mind in calmness before making decisions, and that calmness saves them from costly mistakes. Contentment does not kill dreams. It makes them cleaner. Some fear that if they accept the present, they will lose ambition. That is a misunderstanding. The contented person has goals, but pursues them with ease rather than impatience. They know what truly matters and what is only noise. Their dreams become simple, steady, enduring. The one who cannot be content often chases too many things at once. Quick wealth, instant success, constant recognition, superiority over others, and grows tired before the journey even begins. Contentment helps us choose the right path instead of carrying what we don't need. There is also a quiet mystery. When we are content with the present, life often opens new doors. When the mind stops running, we recover the energy to create opportunities. When dissatisfaction loosens, we see the right direction. A door can only be found when we are calm enough to notice it. Contentment is not stopping, and it is not giving up. It is ending the fight with what lies beyond our control and placing our strength where we can actually act. It is ending comparison to cultivate the true value of our own life. Sometimes, being content just a little is enough to change everything. And there is a truth we accept only after many gains and losses. Everything depends on conditions. When conditions are complete, even without forcing, what is meant for us will arrive. When conditions are incomplete, even if we clutch tightly, it will slip away. When we understand this, the heart becomes light. When we don't, we live in self-torment, resentful, blaming, exhausted. Bodhidharma once said, "If you cannot attain it, the conditions are not yet ripe. If you cannot hold it, the conditions have ended." Forcing it only adds suffering. Karmic conditions are not vague luck. They are the meeting of the causes you have planted, the circumstances you encounter, and the results you receive. Everything moves naturally, favoring no one, neglecting no one. A person who understands this does not resent life, blame others, or pressure themselves to grasp what isn't ready. They walk more calmly and stand more firmly, trusting that what truly belongs to them will arrive in its own time. There are goals we pursue until we are emptied of strength, yet the outcome still doesn't match our hopes. It isn't because we are incapable, nor because life is unfair. Often the timing simply hasn't come. Without this understanding, people punish themselves with heavy thoughts. Why do I try so hard and still fail? Why does it seem easier for others? But when you look deeper, you see that every person carries a different path, a different season, a different fruit. A seed may be planted alongside others, yet it does not sprout on the same day. Each has its moment. If you force it, you only injure yourself. If you wait, care for it, and stay patient, it blooms in its own rightful spring. And here is the quiet miracle. When conditions are complete, it comes even if you no longer chase. Life contains things so strange and gentle. When you stop clinging, they return. When you stop demanding, the way becomes clear. Some search for love their whole lives, and only when they are tired enough to rest does love step in. Not because the world suddenly favors them, but because their heart grows still and makes space for a wholesome connection. Some pursue money, work, opportunity for years with no ease. Then when they learn contentment, live decently, and work steadily, one bright day a door opens. Conditions are like the wind. Begging does not make it arrive sooner, and resisting does not make it leave later. Everything has its place in your life. Not everything you want to keep is yours to keep. Some people you love will not stay. Some things you desire cannot be held. Some opportunities you long for do not belong to your path. It feels sad, but it is honest. Wanting is not the same as having the blessing to hold. And what is truly yours, no matter how the world turns, no matter who competes for it, will find its way back to you without struggle. Clinging through force only exhausts the mind. Knowing when to release is wisdom. Plant good causes and good results will form without haste. Karma never misses anyone, yet its timing is not always immediate. A seed planted today may bear fruit far in the future, and a blessing that arrives now may come from goodness you offered long ago. Understanding this softens impatience, anger, and complaint, and makes the journey steadier. Karmic conditions teach us not to force ourselves and not to force others. Each person has their own karma. Some come to teach a lesson, some to offer a blessing, some simply pass through to help you grow. No one appears by accident, yet no one is obligated to stay forever. When you accept this, you stop blaming, stop begging, stop resenting, and stop hoping for what doesn't fit. Those aligned with your path will remain. When the bond ends, they will leave. That is the most natural movement of the universe. Contentment, then, is trust in the quiet arrangement of cause, condition, and result. You do your part, planting the causes with sincerity, and leave the rest to time. Live kindly each day and let life unfold its answers. What is meant for you will come at the right moment. What is not meant for you cannot be held. What flows with your conditions will feel smooth. What goes against them will hurt the more you force it. When this becomes clear, you step into true ease, no longer running after life, but walking alongside it, light, steady, and free. And in the end, you realize a deeper truth. Peace does not come from perfect circumstances, but from the quietness within the mind. Bodhidharma taught, it is not that the mountains have no wind, but that the human mind is not awake enough. The unawakened turn small matters into heavy storms. The awakened let even great events become light as passing clouds. Waves are born from the mind, not from circumstances. When the mind is at peace, the world settles on its own. This is the most essential foundation for living simply and living lightly. When the mind is restless, everything becomes burdensome. A person who lacks inner clarity can live in good conditions and still feel uneasy. One careless remark can disturb them. A small difficulty can spiral into overwhelming worry. A sudden change can steal their sleep for nights. Because the mind is shaken, the world feels shaken. Because the mind feels lacking, the heart always feels it needs more. Some have much yet fear losing it. Some are surrounded by abundance, yet never feel satisfied. Some are loved and still fear abandonment. The root is not the outer situation. It is the mind that has not learned to see. Awareness is not something we are born with. It is trained day by day. No one arrives with a fully awakened mind. Inner clarity grows through understanding life, understanding oneself, and understanding cause and effect. The calm person is not calm because life is easier, but because they have learned to watch the mind rather than be dragged by it. This steadiness is nourished by slowing down, eating more slowly, speaking more slowly, thinking more slowly, reacting more slowly. When everything slows, the heart naturally settles. It is strengthened by deep breathing, taking a few minutes each day simply to breathe, because the breath is a thread that brings us back to the present. It is deepened by letting go, not clinging to the past, not gripping anxious expectations, not feeding the mind with trivial noise. It is refined by seeing through the lens of conditions. When things go smoothly, receive them. When they don't, learn from them, without resistance, without forcing. A settled mind helps us see what matters and release what doesn't. When the mind is agitated, fear is exaggerated. A small issue becomes a maze of assumptions and anxiety. But when the mind is clear, we see the true shape of things. Then we can choose what is right, keep what is good, let go of what is harmful, drop what is excessive, and hold only what is needed. Restlessness pushes us to act from emotion. Clarity allows us to act from wisdom. The awakened are not easily provoked, not easily pulled into gossip or conflict. They step back, observe more carefully, understand more deeply, and are spared the cost of hasty decisions. When the mind is clear, we naturally feel enough. The unclear mind always feels short of something: money, love, success, recognition. But the awakened heart realizes that what we truly need is not so much: a warm meal, a roof against rain, a loved one nearby, a day without illness. It isn't that life becomes perfect, it's that the mind learns contentment. And when contentment arises, the heart becomes light. When the heart is light, peace comes without being chased. Then even if circumstances remain the same, everything looks more beautiful. Bodhidharma's teaching also points to this. Inner clarity is the ground of blessing. Those who are awake tend to live gently, hurting fewer people, competing less, creating less resentment. Their intentions soften, their words become kinder, and they create less harmful karma. When goodness increases, favorable conditions often follow. New opportunities, helpful people, health, and quiet safety. The restless, by contrast, rush, make careless mistakes, and are more easily pulled by greed into unwholesome choices. The awake know when to pause, when to reflect, when to keep their integrity. Clarity creates virtue. Virtue creates peace. Peace creates happiness. Many people try to change the outside to calm the inside, moving homes, switching jobs, changing partners, changing environments. Yet the mind remains unsettled because turbulence does not come from the lake. It comes from the heart. If you want peace, return to the mind. Think less, worry less, compare less, demand less, chase less of what doesn't matter. When the mind becomes a little clearer, the world already feels different. When it becomes clearer still, life becomes brighter. When the mind is steady, life steadies. When the mind is bright, the path opens. When the mind is awake, everything returns to its rightful place. In today's pace, people grow used to rushing. Rushing to work, rushing to earn, rushing to compete, rushing to become better. Few notice that this hurry pulls us away from the feeling of enough and from the experience of being alive. When the heart is always leaning forward, the mind always chasing what isn't here yet, we lose the ability to taste the present. So no matter how much we have, we still feel lacking. No matter how far we go, we still feel not enough. Slowing down is not retreating. It is learning to see. When we live slowly, the breath becomes clearer, each step more conscious, each moment more fully here. The one who truly slows down is simply the one who knows how to cherish each drop of time life gives, no longer running frantically, no longer rushing to finish everything, no longer letting invisible pressures drag the mind away. Bodhidharma taught that the mind is truly nourished only when it learns to return inward, instead of being swept away by the restless current of life. And slowing down is the doorway back. When we move more slowly, we can finally hear ourselves. We begin to notice the small, meaningful things we once overlooked. A morning without haste, a simple meal fully tasted, an honest conversation, an afternoon under the eaves listening to rain. These moments feed the soul, yet they are often dropped in the rush. The mind is like a glass of water being stirred. If you keep stirring, it stays cloudy. Set it down, and it clears on its own. So it is with us. The more we hurry, worry, and run, the more tangled we become. When we pause, clarity returns. When the mind settles, even the smallest joy becomes happiness. And when happiness is found in the ordinary, life feels deeply enough. Living slowly also protects us from comparison. When we are rushing, we keep looking sideways, easily falling into envy and a sense of inadequacy. But when we stop, we begin to live by our own rhythm. Others may move faster, but that does not mean they are happier. Others may seem ahead, but that does not mean they have found peace. Each person has a different road, a different pace, a different season. The slow-living person is not losing to anyone. They are simply choosing to follow the heartbeat of their own life. And in that slower rhythm, we learn to listen to the body, where we are tired, what burdens we are carrying unnecessarily, what weights we placed on our shoulders only because of social pressure and expectation. Listening teaches us when to rest, when to release, when to step back, and that listening grows a quiet sense of enough, so we no longer live by the world's unreasonable demands. Slowing down also lets us feel the people beside us. When we're too busy, we miss the fatigue in a loved one's eyes, the tender smile of a child, the full sentence from a partner, the last time we embraced someone slowly. Pause a little, and we realize we already hold many precious things we once treated as ordinary. Slowing down reveals that happiness is not in grand plans, but in our wholehearted presence within each moment. Above all, it returns us to the breath, the thing we often dismiss, yet the thread that keeps us connected to life. Each deep breath releases a portion of worry. Each slow breath loosens the mind's burdens. Each complete breath reminds us that we are alive. When the breath rests in the present, the mind rests there too. No running back to the past, no anxiety about the future, no competing with the world. Only a quiet, honest way of being. Life, in truth, does not demand the frantic pace we imagine. What matters takes time to bloom. What is beautiful needs patience to take shape. A flower cannot open in one night, and a human being cannot find peace while constantly running without ever stopping. Slowing down is not escaping life, but understanding it. Not abandoning effort, but learning to nourish effort in the right way. Not separating from the world, but feeling the world with a clearer, gentler, fuller heart. When we slow down, we see that life was never lacking, only that we were moving too fast to notice. Much of human suffering comes not only from what happens, but from what we insist must happen. Expectations are natural, yet when they exceed reality, exceed the limits of conditions, exceed the capacity of our own hearts, they become a weight. The more we expect, the deeper the disappointment. The more we demand, the more anxious the mind becomes. Excessive expectation is like an invisible rope tying the heart to a fixed outcome. If it happens as we wish, we feel joy. If it shifts slightly, we feel sadness. If it turns the other way, we feel pain. But life is impermanent. It rarely follows our script, so we fall into frustration, dissatisfaction, and self-blame. We are not wounded by events themselves as much as by the story we demanded they become. Many people place impossible expectations on themselves. They want everything perfect, successful, admired. They force themselves to be better than others, faster than others, accomplished sooner. The more they push, the tighter the mind becomes, the more exhausted the heart. Under heavy self-expectation, we stop seeing what we have done and only see what we have not achieved. We forget we are not machines. Everyone gets tired. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone moves slowly at times. Gentleness toward oneself is also a form of wisdom, and we don't only burden ourselves, we burden others too. We expect people to understand us, love us in the exact way we prefer, act according to our imagined script. But each person is a different world, with different conditions and inner landscapes. Trying to force someone into our mold only guarantees repeated disappointment. The larger the expectation, the deeper the hurt. Some even place their expectations on life itself, hoping everything will be smooth, obstacles absent, luck always present, outcomes always as desired. Yet life has never followed anyone's demands. Today may be sun, tomorrow may be rain. Today we feel high, tomorrow something may pull the heart down. Life has its own laws, conditions have their own timing, cause and effect has its own road. The more we try to make life obey our expectations, the more reality will bruise us. When we loosen the rope, the heart breathes again, and the simple, steady peace we were chasing begins to return on its own. Bodhidharma taught, life does not follow your wishes, it follows conditions. The more you cling, the more life resists. It is a quiet reminder that peace does not come from getting what we want, but from learning to release the grip of wanting. To release is not to give up, it is to keep the heart from being trapped in a single outcome. Releasing opens other possibilities, giving the heart enough freedom to stay unbroken when one path does not work out. When we loosen excessive expectations, we immediately feel lighter. People are not as perfect as we demand, and we accept that. Life is not as complete as we imagine, and we understand that. We ourselves are not always strong, and we learn to hold that with tenderness. When expectation stops pressing, our gaze becomes kinder, our heart softer, our mind calmer. Many people spend their whole lives trying to please others, living by society's standards, family expectations, friends' judgments, and the gaze of strangers. They wear so many masks that when they are finally alone, they no longer know what is real. And so they never feel enough, not worthy enough, not smart enough, not good enough, not beautiful enough, not perfect enough. They forget that we are not born to be flawless. We are born to learn. Everyone has imperfections. The strong have moments of weakness. The gentle have days of anger. The talented make mistakes. The kind sometimes speak too sharply and hurt someone. We are human, not divine. The question is not whether we have flaws, but whether we dare to look at them with compassion. When we accept our flaws, they become lessons. When we hate them, they become burdens. A person who is at peace with themselves does not punish their heart for too long. They make mistakes and correct them, fall and rise again, grow tired and allow rest. They don't magnify their failures into an identity. They remember that they too deserve love. Much suffering comes from comparing ourselves to others, seeing someone else as prettier, more successful, richer, more skillful, and deciding we are lesser. But comparison steals joy. It rarely brings true progress. Each person is a distinct being with different conditions and a different path. Comparing yourself to another is like comparing a lotus to an apricot blossom. Each has its own beauty. You don't need to become anyone's copy. You only need to live your own life fully. Being content with yourself also means respecting your limits. There are things you cannot do, not because you are inferior, but because it is simply your nature in this season. There are roads that don't fit you, not because you've failed, but because you're choosing the right direction. There are people you cannot please, not because you are wrong, but because conditions are what they are. When you understand yourself, you know what to pursue, what to release, what to protect, and what to practice. You live lighter, no longer trying to contort yourself into a shape that satisfies everyone. And when you allow yourself to be human, to be sad, to be weak, to be mistaken, to begin again, the heart softens. It no longer lives inside a rigid mold. Something quiet and miraculous follows. When you stop condemning yourself, you blame others less. When you stop comparing yourself, envy loosens. When you learn to love yourself, loving others becomes easier. True peace doesn't come from becoming better than others, but from becoming yourself with calm acceptance. And much of our suffering also comes from what we expect of other people. We assume they should understand us, treat us well in the exact way we prefer, value us on our terms, remember what matters to us, consider our feelings before every action. But reality is different. Each person is a world of their own. Temperament, history, burdens, limits. To demand that others live according to our script is impossible. The more we expect, the more we are disappointed. The more we pressure, the more we grow exhausted. When we learn to accept what others can and cannot give, the heart becomes half as heavy. It's not that they don't care. They care in their way. It's not that they are indifferent. Sometimes their mind is occupied with their own invisible weight. People often forget that everyone carries a private load we cannot see. Unspoken sadness, unhealed wounds, responsibilities we don't fully understand. Their imperfections are not always a lack of love. Often they are simply the limits of being human. When we demand less, we begin to notice their effort, however imperfect, and compassion grows. Many hearts break not because someone did something terribly cruel, but because they did not do what was expected. A spouse isn't as thoughtful as imagined. A partner doesn't read the heart as hoped. A friend doesn't show up at the right moment. Yet the root of the pain is not the act itself, but the distance between what we want and what they are actually able to offer. When we soften that distance, we suffer less, and we love with more realism, more tenderness, and more peace. Bodhidharma taught that wanting others to follow our wishes is the root of suffering. It is a wake-up call for anyone who places too many expectations on a relationship. When we demand less, we hurt less. When we stop waiting for grand gestures, we begin to see that small things are also happiness. To be content in relationships does not mean enduring wrongdoing or accepting what is harmful. It means seeing people as they are, without polishing them into an ideal, without placing them on a pedestal and then resenting them for being human. Each person has a different capacity for love, a different language of care, a different history. When we accept this, we stop trying to fix others. We do our part well and let conditions do the rest. A light mind makes a light relationship. A controlling mind makes it heavy. The strange gift is that when we demand less, others often soften. When we don't press, they don't defend. When we don't blame, they don't fear. When we don't compare, they don't feel judged. A relationship doesn't grow because two people are perfect, but because both know how to be gentle when they are not. Sometimes one small shift in perspective can save a bond. Instead of, "Why won't they do this for me?" Maybe they are tired or trying in their own way. Instead of, "Why don't they understand me?" Understanding a person is difficult. Even we don't always understand ourselves. When we look with softer eyes, the heart becomes less sharp. And contentment also teaches discernment, keeping those who truly fit, releasing those who don't. Some people arrive to teach a lesson, some stay to offer peace, some leave so we can grow. Those whose conditions align remain. When conditions end, they go. We stop forcing. We stop expecting others to fill the emptiness in us. We learn to heal ourselves, find peace within, and enter relationships with a full heart, not a hungry one. As we mature, we realize many of life's complications don't come from the world, but from our own inner clutter. We want too much, hold too much, chase too much, until the mind feels like a noisy market. Invitations, rivalry, comparison, endless voices pulling us apart. But when we begin to simplify, the noise falls away layer by layer, worries dissolve, and we discover that peace never left us. It was only covered by unnecessary desires. Simplicity is not deprivation. It is knowing what matters. Keep what brings calm. Reduce what makes the heart heavy. A house doesn't need to be huge, only warm. A life doesn't need to be excessive, only enough. A relationship doesn't need performance, only truth. A day doesn't need endless plans, only a few moments to breathe. Bodhidharma reminded us, fewer desires bring a calmer mind. Knowing enough brings a happier life. The person who wants less is not weak. They simply see the pattern clearly, satisfy one craving and another appears. The one who knows enough recognizes the value of the present instead of chasing what has not arrived. They are not lazy or resigned. They just refuse to trade peace for what isn't worth the cost. Simplicity also means releasing relationships that are not needed. Not because we are cold, but because not everyone is meant to stay. Some come to hurt us, and the hurt becomes strength. Some leave simply because conditions have ended, not because anyone is right or wrong. With a less crowded heart, love becomes clearer. We listen less to noise, care less about praise and blame, step away from gossip and endless arguments. We speak less, but more truthfully. Silence, here, is not avoidance. It is wisdom, knowing when words help and when they only stir dust. And perhaps what exhausts us most is not what is happening now, but what has already happened, and we still cannot release. Old wounds, sharp words, broken moments. Many carry them like a heavy backpack, dragging the past into every new day. So even when life improves, peace still feels out of reach, because the mind keeps being pulled backward. Letting go of the past does not mean forgetting. It means refusing to let it wound you again. Some things cannot be changed. Some people cannot be held. Some words cannot be reheard differently. The past is the one place we have no control. What we can do is accept that it happened and choose to live more lightly from this moment. A single criticism can haunt someone for years, making them feel unworthy. One failure can steal confidence, turning life into constant fear of being wrong again. A love that ended badly can keep the heart locked, afraid to begin anew. The past becomes a shadow. Run from it, and it stretches longer. Hide from it, and it grows clearer. The way forward is not faster running, but a gentler turning inward, seeing the shadow, acknowledging it, and slowly setting the backpack down. One memory, one expectation, one unnecessary burden at a time. Bodhidharma said that what binds a person is not the event itself, but the mind clinging to the event. The past does not return. Only our mind keeps dragging it back. The one who hurt us is no longer here. Only our memory repeats the wound. What happened is already gone, yet the mind preserves it and keeps it alive in imagination. Letting go of the past is one of the hardest lessons, because it requires facing ourselves, the feelings we avoid, the truths we don't want to admit, the pain we hide behind a practiced smile. But only by looking directly at the hurt can we truly heal. If we keep avoiding it, the pain merely shelters inside us and rises again when we least expect it. To release the past is to set ourselves free. When we stop chaining ourselves to old mistakes, we walk forward more lightly. When we stop holding on to the image of someone who has left, the heart can open to what is new. When we stop punishing ourselves for what cannot be changed, we recover the full energy of the present. Many ask, how do I forget? The truth is, you don't need to forget. You only need to stop letting it decide today's joy. Forgetting is not the goal. Releasing is the way. The memory may remain, but it no longer pierces. You can still remember, yet the heart is softer. You can still look back, yet nothing trembles inside. Releasing also means thanking the past for what it taught. Often, the most painful experiences are the ones that shape us most. Those who left taught us to love more wisely. Those who hurt us taught us strength. Old mistakes taught caution. Losses taught appreciation. Without that past, we would not be who we are now. When gratitude enters, hatred dissolves. When the lesson is understood, fear fades. When the truth is accepted, the past can no longer imprison us. The present becomes beautiful only when we truly live inside it. And to live inside it, we must make room by letting go. A relationship whose conditions have ended, an old insult, a wound already closing, a fear that no longer serves. The past is not evil. It becomes heavy only when we hold it too long. The day we set it down, the heart becomes like water that has settled after being stirred, clearer, lighter, more transparent. Then we realize the present was always beautiful. We simply weren't looking with free enough eyes. Much of our pain also comes from trying to control what was never ours to control. Life does not always unfold as we wish. Some things we want deeply and never obtain. Some relationships we try to hold still drift away. Some people we trust still disappoint us. Some efforts we give fully still end differently than we hoped. The instinct to control is deeply human. We want plans to go right, outcomes to match our expectations. When something slips off the track, the mind panics. We resist, we force, we fight to bend reality back into our preferred shape. And often, that resistance exhausts us more than the event itself. Some try to control other people's emotions, wanting them to be happy when we are happy, sad when we are sad, to understand us without words. Some try to control others' thoughts, demanding they interpret us correctly, love us in a fixed way. Some try to control the lives of children, partners, relatives, insisting they follow the road we believe is best. But each person has their own nature, awareness, suffering, and conditions. Forcing them only multiplies pain. Others try to control the future through worry, drawing countless worst-case scenarios until they terrify themselves. Fearing job loss, failure, illness, betrayal. They trade today's peace for threats that may never arrive. Others try to control results. It must succeed, be praised, contain no mistakes, forgetting that outcomes always include the element of conditions and timing. Bodhidharma reminded us, resistance gives birth to suffering. Acceptance gives birth to peace. Acceptance is not surrender. It is understanding that some things belong to us and some belong to life. What belongs to us, we do with full effort. What belongs to life, we release at the right time. To accept what we cannot control is a form of wisdom, knowing we are only a small part of a vast unfolding. We cannot command the weather, force a heart, make conditions arrive on schedule, or hold someone who must leave. We can only choose our attitude. Many spend a lifetime learning that others are not responsible for our happiness. Family isn't obligated to always understand us. Children aren't obligated to live by our will. Friends aren't obligated to be perfect. Everyone is carrying their own invisible weight. We walk together while conditions remain, and we let go with a quiet smile when they end. Acceptance returns us to the present. When we stop clinging to the past, stop fearing the future, and stop forcing results, the mind finally lives in this moment. Then everything becomes clearer. The wind is beautiful, sunlight is beautiful, a gentle conversation can warm the heart. When we stop fighting life, even small things become gifts, and we gain energy to focus on what we can actually change: how we respond, what we practice, what we release, what we improve. We become more effective, more mature, more at ease. In the end, the only thing that never changes is change itself. Yet we suffer because we cling to what was, trying to keep everything still, wanting love to stay, work to remain stable, health to never weaken, finances to never shift, happiness to never fade. But life follows its own rhythm, arising and passing, meeting and parting, light and dark. Rivers keep flowing, seasons keep turning, even our own hearts transform through experience. The one who accepts this law lives far more lightly. Not every change is a loss. Some changes open a new chapter. Some changes announce growth. Some changes hurt at first, but become the foundation for deeper strength. When we stop resisting the current, we no longer battle life. We move with it, and the mind becomes light, like clouds drifting across an open sky. Bodhidharma taught that to step onto the bright path, one must be willing to leave the familiar darkness behind. It is a gentle reminder that sometimes we remain in a place that no longer fits us simply because it feels known. Comfort is not always good. Sometimes it is a cocoon that keeps us trapped. Change then becomes the chance to break that cocoon and finally see how wide the sky really is. Change in relationships is often the hardest to accept. Someone who once loved us may grow distant. A close friend may slowly become a stranger. A person who promised forever may no longer be able to walk beside us. This is not always anyone's fault. Hearts shift with time, circumstances, and understanding. Not everyone who leaves creates emptiness. Sometimes they leave so life can make room for what is new. If we keep gripping what has already changed, we only wound ourselves. When we loosen our hold, we allow the natural flow of conditions to carry us forward with less pain. Change also moves through our work and finances. There are seasons when everything runs smoothly and seasons full of obstacles, times of abundance and times of tightness. Yet each season carries its lesson. In ease we learn gratitude. In hardship we learn patience. In difficulty, we learn how to rise again. In success, we learn humility. Life does not take without reason, and it does not give without conditions. Every shift has its own cause, its own timing, its own consequence. Even the body changes, as everyone must face. No one stays young forever. No one stays strong forever. Some days we run fast. Other days we need to sit still. Some days we can do much. Other days we must rest. Accepting the body's changes is not giving up, but learning to listen. And listening helps us live in harmony with ourselves. The mind changes too. Things we once desired may no longer call to us. People who once felt like everything may become gentle memories. Dreams we chased may no longer fit who we have become. This is not betrayal of the past. It is the signature of growth. Awareness expands through experience. The task is not to blame ourselves, but to smile and accept change as a natural part of living. Acceptance is not standing still. It is understanding that some things are beyond our hands. Some people cannot be held. Some dreams must be given new clothing. When we understand impermanence, we stop fighting the current and move with it, soft as water, flexible as wind. To be content with life is not something that appears in a single day. It is a gradual return inward, slowing down to hear yourself, releasing needless expectations, cherishing small blessings, accepting your imperfect humanity, forgiving old mistakes, seeing others with understanding rather than demand, letting go of a past that no longer belongs to you, and welcoming change without resistance. Then you realize peace was never far away. It is here, inside this breath, inside this moment. You do your part with sincerity, and you let life arrange the rest. As the heart grows wider, life feels lighter. As the mind grows softer, the world feels kinder. And if your present still holds worry or unnamed sorrow, begin with small contentment, one quiet breath at a time. When the mind stops demanding too much, life stops stirring so many waves, and everything becomes gentle again, like water flowing under the mountain, quiet, steady, and enduring.